My parents humiliated me in front of everyone. Not quietly, not behind closed doors, but at a big family gathering where everyone could see. They mocked every mistake I had made, whispered cruel things to each other, and laughed while I stood there burning inside. They believed I was weak, incapable, nothing. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made a promise to myself. 2 years from now, everything they owned, everything they thought I could never have would be mine. They thought humiliation would break me. They were wrong. They didn't know the fire I would ignite, the empire I would build, and the storm that would turn the tables completely. This is the story of how the girl they mocked became the owner of everything they cherished, and how one silent promise became the ultimate proof that nobody can define your worth except you. It was a bright Saturday evening. The house was full of relatives, neighbors, and friends. Laughter, chatter, and the smell of baked dishes filled every corner. I stood quietly, hoping to remain unnoticed. Suddenly, an aunt asked, "Where's your daughter? What has she been doing?" My mother laughed cruelly. "She's still figuring things out," she said. My father added, "Yes, jumping from one thing to another. She never takes anything seriously." The room erupted in laughter. Every eye seemed to pierce through me. My heart raced, chest tightened, and my stomach sank. I wanted to vanish. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I smiled faintly, nodded, and silently vowed. 2 years from now, everything they cherished would belong to me. Walking home alone that night, I felt clarity like never before. Their words wouldn't define me. Their laughter wouldn't break me. It was time to build my life, away from their shadows. The next morning, I moved to a small rented apartment in another city. Bare walls, cold floors, little furniture, but mine. Independence. Freedom. Responsibility. I worked multiple jobs, waitressing, freelancing, odd jobs while studying business, finance, and marketing at night. Sleep became minimal. Hunger became normal. Every time I felt like giving up, I remembered the humiliation, and a fire ignited within me. Months passed. Slowly, I discovered a business idea. A solution to a common problem I had observed. No investors, no guidance, only determination. Early clients were few, failures many. But each mistake became a lesson. Each tiny success a building block. By the end of the first year, I had a small but loyal client base. I was learning marketing, client management, and operational strategies. Each day I was evolving, preparing silently for the moment I had promised myself. I spent hours analyzing every detail: competitors, client needs, potential growth. Nights turned into early mornings as I juggled multiple responsibilities. Each challenge, each minor setback was fuel for my ambition. I also learned how to manage finances smartly. Every penny mattered. I cut unnecessary expenses, invested wisely, and slowly started building a financial cushion. This small step was critical because I knew that eventually I would face my parents as an equal, or even stronger, player. During these long months, I met mentors, read countless books on business strategy, personal growth, and resilience. I even took online courses to sharpen skills I had missed in my early years. Every lesson I learned I stored in my mind like treasure, each one a weapon for the day my promise would come true. 2 years of relentless effort had transformed me. The girl who was once mocked, laughed at, and humiliated had quietly built a life filled with purpose, discipline, and focus. Every sleepless night, every moment of struggle, every failure had been stored in my mind as fuel to turn humiliation into power. By this point, my small business had grown into a thriving enterprise. Partnerships were forming, clients were loyal, and my reputation slowly started to precede me. Yet every success reminded me of the night I promised revenge, not out of anger, but out of justice for every word they had spoken. every laugh that had cut through me like a knife. Then the opportunity appeared. My parents, oblivious to my progress, were facing serious financial trouble. Investments had failed, debts had mounted, and the house that had been the stage of my humiliation was now at risk. I could have stayed silent. I could have ignored their struggles. But the fire inside me, the vow I had made, demanded action, and I acted strategically. I contacted the financial institutions handling their debts. I presented a proposal, legal, clear, and irresistible. I would take over certain properties and assets to settle their debts. They had no choice but to accept. I wasn't seeking vengeance and anger. I was fulfilling a promise with intelligence, precision, and patience. Weeks later, I arrived at their home, the very house where my humiliation had taken place. The air was heavy with the memories of mockery, laughter, and shame. I held the documents in my hands, each paper a symbol of silent power. Their reaction was priceless. My father's jaw dropped. You bought this," he stammered. "Yes," I said calmly, my eyes unwavering. My mother, always the voice of ridicule, whispered shakily, How did this happen?" I looked at them steadily, with the same calm I had held during every moment of struggle. "Remember the night you said I'd never amount to anything?" I didn't stop believing in myself. Every hour I worked, every failure I faced, every sleepless night was preparing me for this day. I wasn't weak. I was learning, building, and preparing to take what I was always capable of. Silence filled the room. The laughter that had once echoed here was gone. In its place was astonishment, shock, and an unspoken understanding. The girl they thought weak had become their equal, and more. With this strategic move, I didn't just acquire assets. I gained respect, silently teaching them the cost of underestimating someone. Power had replaced humiliation, and calm intelligence had replaced chaos. This was only the beginning. From there I expanded further. I invested wisely, diversified my business, and continued growing my network. I learned the art of negotiation, leadership, and influence. Every decision was calculated, every risk analyzed. The more I succeeded, the more I realized that revenge was never about anger. It was about proving worth, proving capability, and transforming the energy of humiliation into relentless ambition. My parents were no longer the ones laughing at me. They were watching me quietly, recognizing strength they had dismissed, admiration mixed with disbelief forming in their eyes. I also learned patience. Quick retaliation might have satisfied an immediate need for revenge, but it would not have delivered lasting satisfaction. Slow, deliberate, intelligent action ensured that every move counted, that every consequence was impactful, and that every step of my journey reinforced my power and independence. During this time, I also focused on personal growth. Physical, mental, and emotional strength became priorities. I meditated, exercised, and refined my mindset. My confidence grew not just from external success, but from the knowledge that I had overcome humiliation, poverty, and underestimation to emerge stronger than ever. By the end of the second year, the girl who had once been mocked now stood on a foundation that no one could shake. My parents, initially oblivious, were forced to recognize that the person they had humiliated had become unstoppable. They had unknowingly prepared me for greatness through their doubt and ridicule. This phase of life taught me that strategy, intelligence, patience, and self-belief are more powerful than any burst of anger or momentary triumph. Every calculated step built toward ultimate justice, a lesson that goes far beyond material success. And so, the empire I had quietly built now served as the stage for the final act of my silent promise. It was no longer about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself that I could rise above humiliation, craft my own destiny, and claim what I was always capable of. By the time I entered part 3 of my journey, everything had changed. Not because I had sought revenge and anger, but because I had grown, transformed, and built a life so strong that humiliation could never touch me again. The girl who was once mocked, laughed at, and underestimated was now a figure of quiet power and relentless determination. Standing in front of my parents' old home, which now belonged legally to me in part, I reflected on the journey. Every sleepless night, every tear shed in silence, every moment of doubt that had once haunted me, had been a stepping stone. I had taken pain, humiliation, and doubt and transformed them into lessons that no one could take away. Never let anyone define your worth. My parents' words had cut deep, but I realized that their opinions did not define me. Only my actions, my persistence, and my determination could define who I was. Humiliation can fuel growth. The moment of ridicule had been unbearable, yet it became the spark for a fire that drove me forward. Each memory of laughter and mockery became a reminder that I could rise, stronger and smarter than ever. Patience and strategy are more powerful than anger. I could have acted impulsively, sought immediate revenge, and satisfied a fleeting need for retaliation. But calculated moves, strategic planning, and patience ensured that my actions had lasting impact, not temporary satisfaction. Independence is your ultimate power. Financial independence, emotional independence, and self-reliance created a foundation no one could shake. When I relied solely on my own efforts, I discovered strength I never knew existed. Continuous learning and adaptability matter. Reading, observing, learning from mistakes, and adapting to challenges became the engine of my growth. Knowledge and skill amplified my natural resilience and determination. Respect yourself first. True respect is earned internally. When I respected my own capabilities, my resilience, and my journey, the world, including my parents, had no choice but to recognize it. Success is the ultimate proof of capability. Words, criticism, or mockery have no lasting power. Success, tangible and undeniable, demonstrates strength far louder than any confrontation ever could. I walked through the rooms that had once been filled with laughter at my expense. I remembered each whispered insult, every scoff, every comment that made my heart sink. And yet, standing there as a woman in control, I felt no anger, only clarity and quiet satisfaction. I understood finally that revenge is not about hurting others. It is about proving your own strength, honoring your own journey, and creating a life that reflects your potential. The empire I had built, the assets I had acquired, the recognition I had earned, all of it was a testament to what could be accomplished when one refuses to be defined by humiliation. My parents, initially in shock, gradually came to see me differently. Not with love born of previous pride or habit, but with acknowledgement of strength, intelligence, and resilience. They had unknowingly taught me my greatest lessons, shaping a person capable of turning ridicule into triumph. If there's one thing this journey has taught me, it's this: no one can define your future but you. Every struggle, humiliation, and challenge is a stepping stone if you choose to rise above it. Patience, intelligence, and relentless self-belief are far stronger than any momentary satisfaction of revenge. I now live my life on my terms, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. And every time I think back to the girl who stood silently while being mocked, I feel gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, for the fire, and for the chance to prove that resilience and action will always triumph over ridicule. If this story inspired you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories of courage, resilience, and ultimate triumph. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that could change your perspective on life. Remember, your worth is yours alone. Never let anyone else define it.